Hello, everybody. This is actually a video that's caused by uh, the discussion for this chapter. This is close to one of the last discussions you'll be doing in the course, and it regards cyber warfare. And everybody gets this confused. I find that interesting. At a university that's very close to a special operations military base, that we have people getting interesting, but I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we struggle to try to. We're always using warfare metaphors for other things. Yeah, I think it has to do with basically the militaristic attitude that pretty much pervades American life, and it's sad, but it's there. I know some people really love it. This is military people with military backgrounds are justifiably proud of a long and glorious heritage of serving our country. And I said I'm not gonna get into the politics or to the kind of mindset that goes there. I've been a military contractor myself. I'm not anymore. But let's go ahead and talk about this, because I can't give points in a discussion when one is not addressing the question at hand, which is about cyber warfare. Which is funny because the chapter, I think, barely even brushes that, being far more interested in the business aspects of it, which is not a war. There is not a war, and I'll tell you why it's not a war. Let me tell you how this works. Okay? There's a big difference between cyber crime and cyber warfare or cyber terrorism. I put terrorism up there, but I don't even talk about it in the slide. Isn't that great? Aren't I smart? Or not smart? Or derelict in my duty? Take your pick. It really has to do with what the matter of intent is and who's allowed to do it. Okay, let's talk about cybercrime for one thing. I equate this to somebody going and stealing information from a company. And all the statistics you're going to hear about things like this, when people say, "Oh, I've got statistics about cyber warfare," and you go, "No, you don't. You don't have any statistics on cyber warfare. Such statistics do not exist. They are matters of national security, and that stuff is classified, and it's just not released. If something is released, somebody's going to go to jail for a very long time." Okay. Cybercrime is handled by law enforcement, and it's not ever allowed. Okay. Let me give you for instance. If somebody is trying to attack your company, or if you think you're in the midst of some kind of a long-term attack, even if the FBI knows that this is going on, they cannot legally infiltrate your system to get the attacker. If you're hearing about this happening, if you get some kind of a letter, an email from some source that says, "Hi, I'm from the FBI. I've infiltrated your system, and I see that somebody is attacking your thing. Please give me this much money," or something, or "We need this password or that password, or we need this piece of information, that piece of information to facilitate our catching these guys." I hope you're not stupid enough to hand it over. This is not how the FBI works. The FBI must work according to a strict set of laws. I know we have TV that says that they probably do, and I'm not saying that the television is wrong, but it's illegal. If the FBI gets caught doing it, you can sue the crap out of them, and that's a very lucrative thing to do. So, try that. The FBI cannot infiltrate your system even as a law enforcement activity without your consent, at least the company's consent to do so. And it shouldn't be followed by some kind of weird spy-ish sort of thing. Just doesn't happen. Cyber warfare is a completely different animal, and that's exactly why we give it a different name and why you should not mix the two terms at all. They have very, very, very little to do with each other, period. And I know people try to say, oh, it's a threat to national security that Target got credit card numbers stolen. Bullpucky, not national security. That is a law enforcement thing, and we handle it in that fashion. Please don't mix the metaphors, okay? Please don't go there. We don't need to be using military tactics on, common criminals. Our Constitution's very pointed about the fact that you can't punish people beyond what's deserved for their crime. Okay? Let's not go there, because you may have personally gotten a pinprick. Oh, my credit card number got stolen. Yeah. Is that going to hurt you? Yeah. Is that destroying national security and deserves the full weight of the U.S. military crashing down on everything? No. Now we have the very real thing, especially around here. There's a special ops base within 30 miles of this campus, and I've worked there. Very real thing you have to know, that people there have access to classified materials and information that the government has classified specifically because they feel that it being generally known would constitute a serious threat, at the very least, catastrophic threat. These are actually terms that I pull from my understanding of the classification system that comes from being a contractor that had to use that system to do things. It's very important that those people who have that information, have that knowledge. Now, stealing their credit card number could be used as a form of espionage to try to work them into an asset so that foreign powers or certain people, terrorists, whoever, can get to vital information about that could be catastrophic to the U.S. government and its functioning. Now, that's important. And that's things like that. But I went through a lot of training annually, even more often sometimes, specific to making sure that I saw this stuff coming and I could stop it. Who I was buddies with, who I couldn't be buddies with. One of the reasons why I don't work for the military anymore is for the simple reason that I didn't want to have to live my life that way. I'm fine with people who do. The pay's great. Got to tell you, if you want a good paying job in information systems, work for the military. The pay is amazing. And, but there's some caveats, and they're just caveats that I didn't want to go for. So let's talk about how cyber warfare works. Number one thing you got to know is the United States is the main perpetrator of these cyber warfare attacks. If you mix cyber crime with cyber warfare, there's one thing you've got to see. Your own government is the worst purveyor of it. You think the Russians are bad? Please. We are the main perpetrators of cyber warfare. We don't want to be the victim of it as a military. So we're the first ones on the block. We infiltrate them. Our spies, and a lot of our spies are strictly cyber, they're infiltrating systems all the time. And guess what? It's with the approval of the American people, although you'll say, I never agreed to that. And you go, well, your representatives and behind closed doors and in secret sessions, no, they're not secret, closed sessions, authorize this stuff on a regular basis, hopefully dealing in these things in the best interest of the American people. And I guess you just have to trust this. You want to know a case where this is true? It's called Stuxnet. It happened in about 2010-ish, so it's been quite a while. But it was a virus or an attack vector that was actually created and used by our security services, NSA, CIA, whatever, specifically to attack Iran. It was supposed to go after the centrifuges that were being used to enrich uranium for their nuclear program. The funny thing was it got out. Other people saw it. And it's like, oh, what's this? And it just highlighted the fact that America is the prime purveyor of cyber warfare. We conduct it. We're probably the best at it, and we probably use it more often than anybody else does. You can sit there and say, oh, it's the Russians, they're so evil. And you go, yeah, be careful. It's us. Trust me, these guys learn their tactics primarily from us. So it says, what good is this information? Why do you need to know this? And why was there a question asked about this? I have no idea where the question came from, where the topic of the discussion came from. Somebody cooked that up, and it wasn't me particularly. But it does bring up a very interesting point. It is true, it's there. Let me tell you how I look at it, and how I think most of my friends who are still in the military or are contractors for the military, how they might perceive it as a good thing, because it is. It depends on how you feel about war in the first place, and about whether you think it's necessary or whether we can get rid of it, things like that. So I'm not gonna address those questions here. That's for sure. Black hat people, hackers. They call them hackers. I prefer crackers. Hackers are just people who mess around with stuff without evil intent. Black hat crackers are people, because we call them black hats as opposed to white hats. White hats are people that know how to do this, but do this for good purposes, to help people know security, although sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the two. Usually black hat sorts, which are usually nefarious, they do it for other reasons, either for pleasure seeking or to steal information. If you want to know who the cyber criminal is, it's probably a black hat cracker. And the funny thing is, governments kind of like them. Because we can put them to work doing what they do, but doing it for us. Especially in espionage, especially in cyber warfare. Counterintelligence, as they say. If you're the kind of person that really gets a kick out of that and thinks that would be a great thing, let me tell you, the money is amazing. However, to get the kind of cred that you need, it's a little dicey. You must be careful, because you might have to do some jail time. Some of the government's best consultants upon these matters are people that they picked up out of jail. Kevin Mencken comes immediately to mind. You can look up his name. Very, very high profile cracker 30 years ago. So yeah, you can put those kinds of skills to work for the government. By and large, you're going to have to actually join the military. We usually don't. Contractors don't usually do this. They usually want to have a little more control over you, so it tends to be military. So you can certainly talk to your local recruiter, and they would probably give you a funny look. But after a few inquiries, perhaps maybe a few phone calls, they would be very interested in being able to acquire your particular skills. Anyway, I don't think I have anything more to say about it. Please be careful in that discussion that's going on. Make sure you're talking about cyber warfare. Don't mix it up with cybercrime. Totally different thing. I mean, you can say, oh, but if they steal all the credit cards, that's going to really disrupt the American system. And you go, you know what? No, it won't. It's not going to disrupt the system. It says you're going to have to attack on a whole different vector. Trust me. Terrorists don't scare people by stealing a bunch of credit cards. They do it by making it so that you cannot transact business at all. And I mean whole wide swaths of the universe, not just target customers. Sorry. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but that's small potatoes. I know it affects individuals very much, and it certainly affects Target's ability to carry on business, but who cares? America will work fine without Target being around. Oh, and I know that breaks the heart of so many loyal Target customers that the United States government isn't willing to use the military to crush the evil people who infiltrated Target. But I'm sorry, it's not a thing of national security, and we're certainly not going to start breaking law enforcement rules of engagement. See, and that's a bad thing too. That's a military term. Why on earth are we putting that toward law enforcement? That becomes another sticky subject, is that we use the same tactics, we use the same terms of war that for police activities, policing, which should not be done. I'm sorry. This is, you can say all day long that's a political thing. I'm sorry. I think that is a categorical line that if one crosses, one is gonna have a very nasty world. There's actually laws that say the United States government, the United States military, cannot operate inside our borders. Doing actions. They cannot be pressed into policing in there. But it's been broken a few times. Commie post. I'm not going to get it. It's okay. Very careful. Please keep it separate. I do grade that you drifted off topic if you start mixing cyber warfare and cyber crime together. Crime and warfare are not the same thing. The government cannot use military type tactics within businesses in the United States. Just not going to happen. And it better not happen. If it does start happening, you better start screaming to your congressman and get that taken care of. Sweet. All right. Well, I'm going to let that go before it gets political. No need to go any further. We'll talk to you later. So be careful on that discussion thing.